Hello and welcome to the Hearts Standard post-match debrief from Tynecastle Park after Hearts drew 2-2 with Hibs. Didn't draw 2-2 with Hibs, gave Hibs a 2-2 draw after a commanding performance until the 65th minute, and then between minutes 65 and 68 imploded with some defensive calamities. James, what's your feeling after that game?
Well, I mean, it's pretty much what you said. You're right. I mean, it's certainly there's no way you can get around it. It's 2 points dropped. Like you say, I think Hearts started on a strong foot. In front foot, they started really strongly as well. I think in the first half, they had a lot of the ball, particularly in midfield. They were controlling the central areas, and Hibs didn't really have much going forward at that point. I thought that there was a bit early on when Martin Boyle getting behind, and then Devlin sort of took the book.
Yeah.
That was the right thing to do as well.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And then they had a kind of succession of free kicks, corners towards the end of the first half, like right at the very death and stoppage time, that really put a bit of pressure on. But aside from that, Hibs really hadn't offered much at all, and Hearts were in control, like you say. They were, I think Alex Lowry was excellent in midfield. Alan Forrest also was brilliant, a wee bit further forward, out wide, stretching the flag, driving forward with the ball, all the stuff you really want to see. I felt like him doing it, and I'm sure we're going to talk about it, but it was an excellent performance from him. Great goal as well, of course. Absolutely. We had a brilliant right behind the ball. It's lovely. You can see it's going in the whole way. And then, it's there's a couple of changes made to the team. Lowry comes off, Billingham comes on. I mean, to be fair, I'm not entirely sure that's why the game turned, because I think that both the goals were just two individual errors where there's no legislating for it. Like that's just it was just their poor touches that essentially ended up being through balls for the Hibs forward players. And while Hearts did have a couple of chances after that, they're just that whole the degree of control that had been there up until that point was just totally evaporated, and it didn't look like Hearts were able to seize that control again afterwards. I think afterwards it became quite end-to-end, quite bitty, quite stop-start, and neither side really was able to get their foot in the ball and control it, which is a shame because Hearts were doing such a good job of that.
Yeah, I think that's the big thing. So we obviously best ways to kind of break it down. And I was early proceedings, you were kind of apprehensive just because you could see Hibs' threat on the counter attack with Boyle and Johan, but then when the game settled down, Hearts managed to overload them in midfield with Devlin and Unhoff had a really good partnership, and then it allowed Lowry. I think it's in the Edinburgh derby, it's very difficult to get space. It's very difficult to play the game at your own pace, and Lowry, at 20 years old, only second or third start for the club, managed to do that. He was finding pockets, he was getting on the ball, and he was like taking a breath, or he was speeding the game up. He was really dictating it, and it was like central. Him and Forrest were so good, and Hibs just looked like Hearts made Hibs look like an ordinary team, and it was a performance of first half where there was real purpose, and it was unlike a lot of the league games that we've seen so far.
No, definitely, yeah. It's been night and day compared to you think of the first half against we say all the time Dundee, Motherwell, St Johnstone, St Mirren, choose your poison. But like you say about Lowry, I mean, I thought it was really, there was some really clever play, just not only from Lowry but from the whole team as well. When Hearts were building out from the back, they generally moved the ball like from side to side along the back four. Once they hit the back four, the ball from the fullback would immediately go up the line straight into the winger, who dropped deep, and then they'd play it straight back to the feet of the fullback, and all of a sudden Lowry's then taking up that space that was formerly occupied by the winger. So again, it's all like Hearts' movement, and you saw it on the left occasionally, but you really saw it on the right. I thought that Civic, Devlin, and Lowry and Forrest all combined really well down that side. And again, it was that thing of if Alan Forrest came deep to get the ball, Civic would provide the option on the overlap. If Civic and Lowry drifted out to the right, Forrest would start drifting in. So we saw that a couple of times. We saw it the goal. We saw a couple of chances before that as well, and it was working.
Yeah, because Forrest mentioned that with the goal. It was a brilliant finish off his left boot. As soon as he hit it, you knew it was arrowed in for the top corner. But he mentioned the space opened up was because Civic made that run outside them, or kind of underlap, but out to the wide. That really opened that space up, and it was a performance that showed the best of what I think Naismith wants from his Hearts side.
Yeah, I would say that's, and particularly in the first half, that's as fluid the Hearts attack has been this season. I think. We talked about the game at Kilmarnock, in the League Cup, the semi-final, the quarter-final, where we said, the first half that was good because Hearts were, there's a lot more kind of interchange, and there's, the front four were moving around nicely and creating these gaps. Today was far better. Like you mentioned, you look at someone like Stephen Naismith, where after the game he was saying, go for it, play by player, performance by performance. There's a lot to be impressed by, a lot that went right. I think that there's a lot of players who did give a very good account of themselves this afternoon, and it's just that minute or two of absolute madness.
Before we get to that, I think it's important because we looked at to look at Kingsley, his injury, which getting stretchered off doesn't look like a good one, and it was pretty timely that Alex Cochrane's back in training, but frustrating at the same time because Stephen Kingsley's got to a position where he's playing back to his best, and you were actually thinking, how does Alex Cochrane fit in now? Because Stephen Kingsley's been playing so well, and then you're like, oh, maybe you play Kingsley beside Kent, but then you look at roles today in two different roles, left back and at centre back. I thought it was really good, and I think Hibs were probably a type of team to suit him. I thought maybe Hibs would pin Doidge onto Rose and go direct to him, but it was actually Kent against Doidge, and then Rose was intercepting, he was stepping in, he was tackling, or matching up Boyle or Johan or Venti, and that's where he thrives. I think that's where he thrives, and when the game's on the deck, and it's quicker rather than more physical. And then at left back, he was really steady on the ball.
I think that's the thing. I think you're right. I think defensively he was really quite solid today. I think he made good runs when he had to play left back and he was getting forward in good positions.
Timing the tackle.
But then I think that the problem was, maybe it's just me, but I felt that whenever he got the ball, there was never that delivery coming in that obviously someone like Stephen Kingsley is going to provide. And that's that.
I'm not saying he's left back.
No, of course.
Forward,
just like that, then all of a sudden does limit stuff, because there's a few times where sometimes even Alan Forrest was driving forward with the ball, drifting out left, and then Rose was making the run in the overlap. He's got acres of space, but rather than playing the ball to him so he can swing it in, Forrest holds it, tries to draw a man, tries to see what happens.
Yeah.
And, that
just treats him as a decoy.
There was a clear reluctance to do that. Yeah. Obviously, if it's Kingsley, I don't think that reluctance is there. So, obviously, we know Rose isn't a good crosser towards Kingsley. Few players in the Hearts team are. Yeah. But I do think that was one of the big sort of turning points in the game, was the fact that when Kingsley came off, then Rose, he's trying his best and he's getting in good positions, but he just doesn't have that same end product. And Hibs know that as well.
Because we talked about it when Kingsley was down for a while, and like 2D change, and I would have been leaning on Andy Halliday's played there before for Hearts, whereas because if you brought a Fai on, you were essentially moving the whole back line, because you're moving Civic into centre back, Kent to left centre back, and Rose into left back, whereas Halliday would be more of a direct switch. And then ultimately, as it proved costly, it's hard to blame on that decision when it was two basic silly errors that led to Ellie Johan's scoring goal.
Exactly, but both of them, it's just a poor touch. It's a poor touch, not the Hearts defender that's ended up inadvertently playing in the Hearts a striker. Giving him a free shot and goal. Obviously, you can't do that. But like we said earlier, there's no legislating for that. You can't. He didn't want to do it. He didn't try to do it. It just happened. And we can be disappointed about it. I don't think it's an indication of any sort of the systemic problem, or something about it. It's not a bit particularly. The goal didn't come around through a tactical change or anything. It was just two howlers. Let's be honest, and then that's what's happened.
Because I think that's the big thing. Just taking a sense on social media, and it's you always can take it with a pinch of salt, but there's a lot of people vocalise a lot on social media, so it's important to look at that. And there's been a lot of questions and criticism of Naismith and his subs, and the fact that he took off Lowry and brought in Benny Beningame, and then altered the kind of midfield dynamic, and that handed the initiative. But maybe it's handed the initiative to the Hibs. I don't think the sub played as big a part as maybe people making out in the draw. But I would say is that it wouldn't have been the substitution that would have made. Lowry was Naismith said that Lowry was tiring.
Yeah, it's kind of.
Because he kind of agreed that he was tiring, but at that point, I think you bring on Grant or you bring in Boyce, because look what happened when it went 2-2. Devlin, who'd been moved into a kind of more advanced role.
Yeah,
he's taken off. He's probably been taken off because of his because he was on a booking. He's been taken off as part of that to bring Grant and Boyce on to increase the attack threat. So I don't want that to kind of take away from a positive performance, but I think it's hard to, especially right after the full-time whistle, to look at it like that, because you've just dropped 2 points to Hibs that really shouldn't have been dropped.
No, yeah, they shouldn't have. But, it's like you say, I think that the changes, while, I mean, you can understand the logic of it. We'll take off an attacking midfielder in Lowry and replace him with Benny Beningame.
Benny did really well.
He didn't play poorly at all. It's that thing like just try and shore up the midfield. But like we said, it did cede control of the midfield, which is what Hearts had up until that point. And while I don't think that's not why Hearts conceded 2 goals, but it might be why they didn't score a third. It might be why they couldn't then get back in front, get back ahead after Hibs had left up. So I think that, and then obviously they bring on Grant, they bring on Boyce to try and just inject something up front. And to be fair, they both looked quite, I thought Boyce in particular looked quite lively. They had a couple of chances where it's like that ball gets him a wee bit quicker, or if he gets his shot away a wee bit faster, maybe there's an opportunity. Grant ended up playing out on the left. I don't really think that's where he's at his best. I mean, he seems to be drifting left quite a lot. I think he struggled to get into the game after coming on. I don't think he did too much, which will be a disappointment. But as I say, I think it's easy to say it with hindsight, but
that's all we have. That's all we have to go on is hindsight, unfortunately. But yeah, it was very frustrating, just because like I said, the control, because that's what Hearts had for so long, up and for like an hour, had control, and then when it went 2-2, they had we still had chances to win it, and there was a number of opportunities created, but not great chances created. There was a lot of like chances on the edge of the box, people kind of checking back and forth, or just the final ball wasn't right, and then Hibs getting bodies in. But at the same time, what happened in the first half, well, that kind of stuff was happening. The attack seemed to have more control to it, while Hibs didn't look like they would score or get a chance. As the game went on, Hibs started to get chances and could have got a goal himself, Sander Clark. If only had really one save to make.
Yeah, he didn't really have much to do at all, And I guess maybe the when we're talking about the fact that the chances kind of dried up for Hearts. I mean, the biggest example of that perhaps is the fact that, we both said it when David Marshall went off and Borich came on and goals. It's like, all right, this is like a young, inexperienced goalie who's playing his first derby. It's like, I just start hitting shots and start asking some questions of him, And I think there was that deflected shot that I think he maybe just tipped over the bar. But aside from that, I mean, I'm struggling to remember Borich being tested too much, and it's like that thing. I was like, again, you need to just be getting shots on target, even if it's not a pretty good shot. Just make sure it's on target, give him something to do, ask some questions of the guy.
How many times have you seen that? Like a young goalkeeper comes on, or if a team have lost a goalkeeper sending off, and they don't have anyone to replace, so they put outfield player on goal. Just shoot hit shots.
He's got like all those fans right behind him as well. I'm sure they might make life easy for him. It's like, it's that thing of like, just ask the question, like try and prove, it's easy initiative. And that would certainly be a disappointment. I think the fact that, like you said, there were kind of wee half chances and things like that, but there was never any like, oh, that should have gone in there. Maybe Benny didn't give his shot actually, or that one went over well. That's when it's like, you really got to be hitting the target there, or there's that where Shanklin kind of drifted in. He just kept getting past his man, but he always looked a wee bit off balance to me, and sort of thing. So I think that on the whole, I think there are lots of positives to take away from that performance.
I was going to ask you before we can go to the pub and kind of try and forget that 2 minute spell that Hibs had. What what were your main takeaways from the game? Because I think it's an easy situation, an understandable situation for fans to be down and kind of negative about everything, just because again it's a derby, lost 2-0 position at home, due to lost 2 points. It's hard to try and find those positives, but there were more positives than negatives.
I would say so. Yeah, I really would. I mean, I think that obviously it's going to sting. Chipping away 2 soft goals like that, chucking 2 points away, that's obviously going to hurt. No one's going to be bouncing up the road and they'll be back from the game. But having said that, at the same time, kind of that first half performance where again, Hibs, had got some really dangerous players. And they didn't look very dangerous at all. You've got the fact that you've got these players like Lowry and Forrest coming in the team who've not had much game time, many starts recently, and again they came in and made a huge impact. Just the overall fluency of like the front four in the midfield that's supporting them. Some of the link-up play was really nice. I thought, like you said with Lowry, the way that he'd sometimes pick up the ball and then sometimes just a nice wee dink pass in that just releases somebody a nice cross-field through ball, whatever it was. It was like, and it seemed that he was really sort of dictating the tempo.
Yep.
Sometimes that's why he's been signed for Hearts. That's why he's been brought in, because we know he's that kind of player. So, and I think there are positives definitely. I mean, the only real negatives that I would say would be that obviously we've got the injury to Kingsley.
Yep.
Negative, not great. Another game with Shankland not scoring.
Yep.
And again, he's not too much of a Smith. Not really. Obviously the manner that the individual errors for the goal was disappointing, and then the fact that Hearts, when they get back to 2-2, Hearts did struggle to create the same quality of chances that they'd been making up to that point. So those are the disappointing aspects. But again, I think there's a lot more to be positive, because I think certainly for the first 65, 67 minutes, whatever it was, Hearts were comfortably better.
Yeah,
comfortably better. And this is a team that are in good form as well. Let's not forget that.
Yeah, my big like the big negative is the drop points, but just it's in a manner which it's usually, if that happens, it's usually all the way around, where Hibs have battered Hearts, but Hearts have eked out a draw, just because that's the mentality in the derby. Positives, Newhoff again, I think he's really coming into his role at the base of midfield. Definitely. Those elements he's played, it's really, really encouraging, especially out of possession. Devlin had another strong performance, and then I think you saw Lowry and especially Forrest kind of showed himself that showed everyone that he is a Hearts player. He can do it. He's done it in a big game, and he just looks really confident and direct. And then Lowry showed everything that we knew about him, and that his vision, his awareness, his ability to manipulate the ball, and it was really encouraging to see him do it in such a manner in a derby, in a massive game, where Naismith showed faith in him. So it's. I mean, again, it's hard to look on the bright side after that, but I do think there are plenty of encouraging signs. Again, it's going to be difficult for some people to see it because of the manner of the draw. But yeah, I
would say your big picture view though. You would rather be controlling games and then chucking it away than stealing a point out of nowhere.
Long term.
You play like that most weeks, and you play that. If that happens most games, you'll win most games.
So yeah, we'll leave it there, and then they can go to the pub and forget about that 2 minute spell.